In this section, I'm going to be going over some of the new effects that are available in Procreate 4.1. Now, these effects appear in two different places. The first one is if we hit the magic wand in the upper left-hand corner, we have our adjustments, opacity, Gaussian, blur, that sort of thing. But down, kind of in the middle, you'll see Liquify. I could go ahead and tap that. And when I do, it brings up a whole bunch of settings down below along the bottom. So in the next section, we're going to be using some of these settings, but in this section, I want to cover some of these settings. But before I jump into that, there's one more thing. I'm going to hit the arrow tool in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll see down below here, we have our normal freeform tools, which we've always had, which allow us to move our layers around. I'm going to undo that. And they've changed the look of this a little bit. For example, I can flip horizontal really easily. I can flip vertically really easily. I can rotate it 45 degrees really easily. Let me get him back to normal there. I can fit that whole layer to the canvas, or I could just reset the entire thing. But above that, we also have distort and warp. So I'm going to be talking about those as well. But first, let's go back to our adjustments, which is the magic wand in the upper right-hand corner. And let's go to Liquify, and let's look at some of these. So the first thing we have is push. And what that allows us to do is use this kind of like a brush. And when I run my finger across, you can see it pushes whatever art I have there. It basically draws a line on there. I can change the size of it so I can have a really big push. I'm going to undo that, or let me move it down. I can have a really small push so I can have little lines like that. I'm going to undo those. And what's really cool about this is if I go to my layers and I have my ink layer, but if I swipe to the left on another layer and have them both selected, now what happens when I go to the Liquify effects, change my size, is now when I push, I can move multiple layers at one time. So this comes in really handy. So if I want him to look more worried than angry, I could just kind of push up his eyebrows. Now all of these effects have this reset in the lower right-hand corner. So I can hit reset and everything goes back to normal. But there's another way to do it. Let me push him again. And next to the push option, we have the reconstruct option, which allows us to go back and reconstruct. So if I wanted to push a little, but it pushed more than I wanted, I can always go back. And actually, if I color over this, it will slowly reset to where it was. So if you use too much of an effect, or the effect goes a little too far to the side or a little off where you wanted it to, you can go back and just reconstruct that one area. We've got other things as well. We've got our ability to twirl. That looks kind of funky. We can also twirl counterclockwise, which looks equally as funky. I'm going to reset that. And I love how these effects animate back. Actually, it's kind of fun to do that. Let's do it big time. Let's twirl them this way. Let's counter twirl them this way, really mess them up. And then when I hit reset, boom, that was a cool effect. Pinching pulls in from a center point so I can pull in from his face. That's kind of cool. Reset that. Expanding does the exact opposite. It kind of expands out, kind of blows him up like a balloon. Gonna undo that. But if I wanted to do it in just one spot, I could change the size of my brush and maybe make his chin bigger. Let's put it out here. Actually, let's make that expand a little bit bigger. There we go. We could make his chin bigger like that. We could make his hair bigger over here. It's kind of a fun thing to play with. And then next to that, you see adjustment. And what that does is it allows you to take that effect I just did and adjust how strong I wanted to make it. Maybe I just wanted his chin to come out a little bit, or maybe I wanted it to happen a lot. So it's a way to go back in after you've done it and adjust it. I love how quick and snappy these features are. I'm going to reset all of that. Now let's take a look at those other features. I'm going to tap on the arrow tool in the upper right or upper left-hand corner, and I'm already on distort. And what does distort do? Well, I can take this and it allows me to angle him out, which almost makes him look 3D. And in fact, if you had your 3D grid on, I could take these corner points and actually match my artwork up to fit my 3D grid. If I take the middle circle, it lets me drop him down or pull him up. I'm going to actually just reset the whole thing. I'm going to grab the other corner. You can see he kind of becomes 3D. It's pretty cool. And then next to distort, we have warp. Warp is kind of interesting because we have all of these points around. So I can grab on any of these lines and just distort him, which is kind of neat. You could do some really cool stuff with this. Or I can grab the corners and actually turn him over like a page in a book. I don't like that. I gotta put it back here. But you can come in here and distort this entire guy however you would like. So those are our new features. I'm going to hit reset on that. I just want to do a quick overview of those because we're going to be using them here and there in our next project.